Good. Hello, it's me again, doing a little bit more. So, somehow I have to get rid of the green, but perhaps I'll waste a bit. Again, I'm not very prudent at considering that. I have thought just now, when I go back over the green bits at the top in the head area, I then find I am alright doing it there. But it's a tricky process, considering you don't want to ruin it, because you might get too much water in there, you know. But actually, the exact use of being precise and watching your hand do the work of gods, so to speak, is something that is, it's hard to explain really. It's kind of interesting really, because you can only look at it in a scientific way perhaps, but it's kind of messy, but it's also exact. And then, you know, I don't know, I can imagine all sorts of little tiny things going on in my brain, wondering about all the different ways to symbolically represent green, thinking of limes that are green, and my mind lends itself to the Caribbean queen. Perhaps it lends itself to other parts that are wafting about in other places and other times. Times that were before, times that exist now. That's the strangest thing ever, that we all have, in different parts of the world, different lives, which is not strange, it's just what it is, but it's still strange how times change. Times are different from one place to the next. In America, it's remarkable that I can talk to someone who's just got up. Of course, now they haven't just got up, because most of the people who live in Florida or New York or places like that, they only live 6 hours difference away from me or you or anyone. So 6 hours difference to 7 means it's 1 o'clock, so of course now it will be afternoon time. But at the time that I was chatting to people, and disregarding the tangent that I go off on to explain that, just to remind myself that I do, but not quite disregarding it without the intention to disregard it with the notion to explain that to myself, I notice that I can't quite allow myself to be relaxed yet in my early stages of sobriety, I suppose. Or maybe I'm just too hard on myself. Or maybe I'm not too sure if I am or not. But I like to play it safe. And maybe even if I'm playing it safe, just like me adding things to this painting, can one ever know how precise one should be? And could one be better with a brush that was thick, working on a small part, if it was only a slightly bigger brush? It depends on the skill, doesn't it? So the metaphor doesn't quite relate, but it does say, at the time, I suppose, the intention, so for one mind to become more woven like a bush that has more, means that I grasp more thoughts without having to regard myself to detract from tangents, so to speak, and detract without having to tell myself to detract. So what I was going to go back to is this, that people from different times all do their own things, and without the inclination to think about time, they do with certain ease. But we don't think about it the whole time we're doing anything. We don't think about it if we're fence makers and go, I think I'll just keep one eye on the time, literally, let me just take my eyeball out my eye, you know, and then go, yep, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this job as well. What the fuck am I going to do that? No, you just simply can't. So, but, you know, can you imagine everyone doing that? And everyone considering everyone else's time? I mean, that would just, you just want to take your brains out, throw them away, and then try and get them back again. Hey, what the fuck am I doing? Oh. But it's a wonder, again, is what I say to myself, considering certain circumstances and certain kinds of things in life, that we still manage to hold on to our sanity. And I think that psychic people, if they exist, and whether I could know that such a thing is true or not, I have to somehow believe it's sort of true. I have to believe in the sense that maybe emphatically one grasps one's reality and one doesn't let one's people down. You can find yourself moving through karma in a much more progressive way. You may have to become a psychic one day, you may have to do it. And I reckon the reason people are psychic is because the madness really is quite large. It is, as I said before, probably a lot more amazing how we control things. Regardless of the fact of how many fights we've had or how many things we learn and keep. And how do we actually know completely to keep ourselves sane? How do we know that it isn't something else that is entirely doing it? We don't have our hands in our brain. We don't have our feet on our brain. We don't have any way to control a car more than we do with the tools in front of ourselves, and the same with any other tool. So how do we really feel completely at ease with being controlled about things? I never do. I always think, my God, this is a good, you know, I done well here, but what the fuck? How did it happen somehow? Anyway, it did, so that's good. But still kind of curious, and then I just think, well, no, that's enough now, and I just carry on. So, and then I get jealous of people who have these tremendous brains, and I think, if I couldn't work out how the fuck I managed to solve things, how the hell do people manage to get much further on? Because they just do. This is the progress of life. People of different rates, like in the periodic table with different chemicals, managing things just because they do, just because they will, and they manage it, and it's done. But somehow you think to yourself, well, where does jealousy come in? And does it relate to something? I mean, interestingly, God gave us these emotions, or whatever force it was, or whatever word we should change it to each day. But again, well, what is jealousy? Is it J-losy? Is it some two sort of men's strange energies? Or no? It just seems to be a word, of course. I could say that of any other emotional words, it would be very strange that it has any inner tie.